Alright, good evening. We're back again in the shop, and today I'm working on making a back strip. Now, normally on this I would take a whole top. So for example, this is a whole top. This is a piece of very straight grained Alaskan yellow cedar, but you could make a top out of spruce or cedar or whatever. And I would measure along at about 20 millimeters, somewhere along here, along the space of the entire width of the top, and I would cut off that slice, and I would use that as my back strip. But since this is the deluxe model flamenco guitar, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually cutting some strips off of a couple of little pieces of wood. I've got right here some mango and bubinga, and I think I've got a piece of I think this is granadillo, and I'm just making some little strips that I will glue in a pattern, dark, light, dark, and then I will intersperse those in between on top of another piece of backstripping material that I'll hold as a backer. And I'm going to be making kind of a marquetry looking backstrip. And so I'm going to show you the method I'm using to make these little strips. Now in this case, I am using a specialty tool here. Mine looks kind of like a whale, but it is basically a saw blade with a very fine cut that has an adjustable fence on it. And I can set this side up against the straight edge, and I can cut along that line and make myself a little strip. Now, you could do this in other manners. You could actually take your piece of wood and use just a saw if you've got a good straight edge to go against, or you can cut to a line and plane it. This is just the method that I'm going with today for this because of the thinness of the material and the ease of using this particular tool. So this is a tool I've made myself. You can, by all means, use other tools. And I'm trying to get this focused here so that we can get where we need to be. Alright, so we're going to be right here on this piece of wood. I've already got it blocked up in the plane on the edge of my bench. This is a nice straight edge. It's already been planed. And I've already got this set up for my thickness that I need. And all I got to do is run it along there. Pops off. And now I have a little strip of wood that is exactly the thickness I need. And with a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of running it against a piece of sandpaper or up against a blade for a thickness, and then I can make my light, dark, light sandwich where I can glue them all together like this. Come on. And now is when I zoom out, come in close. You can see what I'll do here. And then I will take these pieces and I will cut them in little sections like this, mixed in with a line going the other direction so it looks like a crosshatch. And that will make my marquetry piece. So that's where I want to take that for now. I think that line's long enough to leave like that. Alright, that'll do for now. Okay, so I've got my strips cut, and I'm getting set up here to do a little bit of gluing of these strips. The glue you use for this is probably not that important. I've got, this is Type Bond 3, and I've got that to give me a little bit of open time to get these kind of where I want them and in place before I just kind of clamp them up. Now what I'm going to need here is something round about the thickness or width that I'm going for. This may be too wide. And something to clamp some pressure on it from the other side. So use 2 pieces, but I don't want to use 2 pieces. I'd rather use 1. And I don't have a real good thing to add on this side, it looks like. So everything's a little long and a little wide. So this is what it's going to be. I think that's going to have to be the best, and then I will use a clamp to keep it in place. So I have many choices here, so I'll probably use this one and the one that's on the end of the bench. So that's where we're going. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue these little strips up. I've decided on my order here and kind of how I want them. It's okay if you get glue everywhere because we're going to be planing that off or whatever. You could use hide glue or regular Type Bond or super glue if you really want to be able to do this fast. But I'll just get a little glue on there and run it down with my finger. Some wax paper sitting on the bench here to keep this from getting glued to the bench or anything else. This glue goes on real watery, so that's why I'm using it. It's going to give me a lot of extra time to get this stuff in place. There's one section. Now after I've got these glued up and all clamped, I will cut them into smaller pieces once it's dried. Used for the marquetry. Alright, so I've got glue on there, press them together. Make sure it sits down exactly as you want it. setting a piece in there and clamping it down on top once I have this sort of in place. Alright, now I need a weight and something the correct width and length. This is why I gave myself a lot of open time. Never know when you might need it. I think that's even too bad. Everything's just a little bit too wide, so I will use this. That should be just fine. But, alright, so I've got this clamped down. It'll be ready to go. I'll put a weight on this, which this will do nicely. That's just to hold it flat, and we'll be ready to go. Alright, well here we are back. Taking my strips of wood out of their clamp. They're good and dry now. And the next step for me to do is to scrape residual glue off the back where it's good and flat. And then I'm going to be cutting it into little sections, and we're going to go through some of that process here. So first thing, let's get you set up so that you're focused in the right spot. I always get this wrong. There we go. And get this where we're going. Alright, so the easiest way to do this is to clamp it down in some manner so that it doesn't move. And then to take your scraper and go away from your clamp. So once I have that clean, flip it around. You say, well, why are we doing that? Well, glue doesn't really stick to glue, so we got to get the glue off. All right, so we're good there. Next, we need an angle. Not a big one. You can just mark a line and get the idea of what we're doing. If we really want to know, here's our strip. This is going to go on our strip, but it's going to go little chunks at angles. So our first step will be to draw a line on one of these. Get this out of the way. And then we'll make something to get us in the ballpark. I'll start on this end, because I can get most of that waste out of the way. Okay, marked a line for what I want my angle to be. Making myself a little straight edge here that I can back my piece of wood up against. And I will take a saw . Right. And in reality, with this little straight edge, I'm going to need to do that a few times. Okay. Now I'm going to mark an additional line, so I can get these all the same length. Find a spot here where I like. I don't know if you can see that real well. Here, let's try to bring this over so that you can tell. Alright, so I cut my excess off of my piece. And then I came over here, and after I cut it off, and I drew myself a line just a little bit away so that I know where to make my piece meet up. And I can do the same thing every single time. That will allow me to get the same cut each and every time, which is going to be important when I go for glue up. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and the little piece gets broken off. Of course, the end result is that we get a little piece. Of course, I can't get the camera to focus on it, but I'll never make them all the same. So I'll get to the land of 1,000 cuts and come back when it's done. Alright, so I have finished cutting up the little pieces here. So I have a little bowl and lots of little pieces in here. I have lots of sections of my little multicolored sticks here that are all glued up. And then I have, you can hear the rain in the background, isn't that great? We don't get that very much around here. It's very nice. I also have some of these little pieces like this, and I cut those out of some sticks along this lines, and the reason for that is that I'm going to make a what'll look kind of like a crosshatch pattern. Lightning and thunder, it's fantastic. So I'll have some longer pieces that go this way, and then those little sections of 4 will be moving this way, so you'll have a crosshatch like this. It'll look like it's spinning around, overlapping, and that's what I want to go on that center line for the back. Now, like I said, there's a simpler way to do this. You can just cut off your strip of you know, this kind of thing, but with the grain, instead of going this way, you can cut it off with the grain going this way, because ideally what you're wanting to do is hold the back together. It's just extra insurance that that seam doesn't come unglued. So I'm doing a decorative version of this, and that's what I've got here. So now I have, and I'm going to go ahead and put this down here, I have a piece of tape, and if I do this right, I should be able to zoom in out a little bit right there. I have a piece of tape here. It's sticky side up, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be alternating my wider pieces on this tape, and I've got it about set up. I know the length approximately where I want that to be. I've got to go a little bit farther than that, but if I stick these down on my tape like this, and I'm going to be going face side down, they should all go on just fine. And I'm just alternating my bands here. All the same. Just trying to keep them all lined up. I'm going to go all the way down. Excuse me. And then I will be setting that down on top of this other strip that I have right here and some glue. So I'll finish this up and we'll get moving. I got a little cleanup here. I'm going to get a good rain. Isn't this fantastic? You can kind of see my pattern emerging here. Alright, that's what I'm going to go for right now. I'm going to continue on my way, finish this out, and then we'll be back.